Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Spilling Tea. I'm your host, Tiffany Daniels. And I'm sorry not cleaned up for you all. And with improved camera quality, you get to see all the not fun lines. Welcome to another episode of Head of the Redundancy Department. Kidding. Welcome to another episode of Spilling Tea. I'm your host, Tiffany Daniels. We'll get to JRC here in a moment, but first, the disclaimers. If you're not familiar with the Stop the Shocks campaign or the campaign against the troubled teen industry, pertinent links are going to be right there in the description box. We do have Autistic Hoya's massive archive on the subject, where we get the bulk of the material when we talk about the JRC. We also have the article written by Neuroclastic, where they interviewed over 800 ABA professionals in regards to the JRC's so-called behavior modification program. It did get so deep under the JRC's skin, they did threaten Neuroclastic with a defamation lawsuit if they didn't remove it from the website. Of course they refused, so guys, you know the drill. Read the article. Share on all your social media. We also have in there a link to Neuroclastic's GoFundMe as well, because unlike the JRC, we do not have access to unlimited funds, unfortunately. So, if you want to give, that would be great. If you could share it, I know they definitely appreciate it. To the trigger warnings. When we discuss places like the Judge Rotenberg Educational Center or Agape Boarding School for Boys, you're going to hear vivid descriptions of and catch clips or surveillance footage of people with mental health issues and disabled people being tortured and abused. If you got young children present, please use your headphones. Also, this channel is marked not for kids for a reason. We do use profanity and speak on dark subjects. If your child's 16 and younger and watching, parental supervision is advised, alright? Okay, now, back to why I said welcome back to the Redundancy Department. We're going back to where we left off yesterday. Let's go back here. Over the past 6 years, with use of the GED devices, SAS exhibited 1.47 SIB per month and nearly 0 AB per month. SAS no longer requires physical restraints. Okay, take them off the GED device. You say here, they don't require physical restraints. Take off the GED device. Because electronic or not, it's still a physical restraint. How the human muscle reacts when direct electrical current at a very high voltage gets sent through a node into the calf muscle. That muscle is going to seize, rendering it useless for the person who's, trying to walk or move under their own volition. So, if you're sitting there saying that SAS no longer requires physical restraints, then get them off physical restraints. Oh, but you're not going to do that, are you? Because deep down, you understand that the GED device very much is a physical restraint. Deep down, you understand that it is actually as intrusive as hell. Okay? Or protective equipment. And she has tapered off all the psychotropic medications. Again, JRC, excuse me if I wouldn't trust you with, like, a placebo at this point. You've already proven that to mislead people, you will list medications that have absolutely nothing to do with treating people with behavioral issues and have everything to do with treating a separate disability, because kids in the real world A lot of us have comorbid conditions. Okay? All the pills I used to take, not all of them were focused on the fact that I was neurodivergent. I had medications when I needed that supplemental help. My severe clinical depression. Okay? I had meds to help with extreme anxiety disorder. They had nothing to do with my behavior. They had everything to do with helping me manage that particular disability or mental health issue so that it wouldn't trouble my overall diagnosis and kick it into high gear. Okay? I also noticed, in spite of you already listing the medications already on 2 different students, you did not do so for SAS. And since this is one of the primary profiles that you use when defending your barbarity, why didn't you include the meds? Why didn't you include it for SAS? It's kind of like the question where you put in severe behavioral disorder but didn't name the disorder. For people like me who've actually worked in this field as well as been a part of the service system, that's a giant red flag. I'm also really good at noticing details that people like the JRC don't like me noticing. I'm just past the age where I can be intimidated or care. But yeah, if you no longer require physical restraint, take off the GED device. If you tell me no, then they really do, according to your logic, require a form of physical restraint. Because JRC, that's what the GED is. That's what it is. The only real difference between that and other forms of physical restraints is that is a restraint that is actually specifically devised and designed to cause physical pain. Other physical restraints can cause pain if it is too tight, if it's not done correctly, but none of those are specifically designed to cause physical pain to the person they're being used on. The GED device does. As a matter of fact, if I was having one of my major every 10-year meltdowns, and the choice was between a straitjacket and the GED device, which one do you think I'm going to choose? The one that is deliberately designed to cause me physical pain, or the straitjacket that is simply designed to help get me under some form of control where I'm not going to hurt myself or others, but was not designed to cause me physical pain? Because I'm going to choose the straitjacket every single time. Pretty sure anybody would, if actually given the choice. And if they do, the choice that they made was not going to end up with them getting punished for it later. As we know, the JRC does. Okay? Let's continue here, shall we? Because of her significant progress with her JRC treatment plan, SAS has been able to have 4 major eye surgeries to reattach her retinas, and her academic and vocational life has flourished. JRC, that's... some people may hate me for this. That is your opinion. And I hate to break it to you, and yes, even to the parents, but at the end of the day, Your opinions in regard to progress mean jack shit. Jack shit. You want to know why? Because we learned to mask. We learned to play the game. We learned how to show you specifically and exactly all the things you wish to see and hear from us. Would you like to know what that means? It means progress. No, it means we became really good. And for lack of a better way to put it, we learned very well how to lie. But Tiffany, you said you guys are always honest. Oh, we are. And when we do create a mask, it's not really too much all that different than when you listen to interviews from actors on how they created and crafted a particular character. It's extremely similar. Only on our end, it's done out of necessity and survival. Okay? But you're smiling, you let us reattach your retinas, your grades are doing better and all of that. Let me go back to that analogy of the neurotypical home real quick. Okay? Normal neurotypical home, one neurodivergent, who've been put through the traditional ABA mindfuckery. Eventually, all of us learn how to mask. Some take longer than others. Some are better at it than others. The reason why it doesn't count in high school, though, is because there's always that little something that seems off to the other kids. It's too perfect. You know what I'm saying? And they catch that, and we still end up ostracized, and we either have no friends, or in my case, the two friends I kept exceptionally close, who later found out they were also neurodivergent. We do have this rare ability to be able to befriend our own, even if that is before they have their own diagnosis done. The point is, when you are under threat of more abuse, more torture, more being sleep deprived, more being starved, what you are going to do in that situation is learn as quickly as you can how to do, be, and act whatever they want you to be, so that maybe if we're lucky, we can avoid some abuse. Okay? So what does that look like, Tiffany? Well, from kindergarten all the way up to 6th grade, I was a straight A student. In fact, the few first meltdowns I ever remember was if I ever took a test that was anything less than an A+, I would freak the fuck out. That's not a joke. That seriously happened. And could even cause me to go into depression. And of course, lashing out and just being brutally horrible to myself. Okay? Now, I was in an abusive situation. The primary person was my stepbrother. But folks, we're talking late 80s, early 90s here. For those of us who were kids, teenagers, tween kids, what happened when you came home with bad grades? Yeah. Corporal punishment, right? So what would we do? We would try to keep our grades up high enough to avoid corporal punishment. The belt was no joke, people. Okay? Yeah, it's not a joke. So, I got straight A's, except the rare one-off where I might get a B. Okay? In spite of the horrifically abusive, psychologically and emotionally destructive, as well as physically destructive abuse that I went through for years on end with no one's intervention, I was still able to keep those grades up. So, I bring that up to you because the JRC here is trying to say that they were able to have better academic success because of the GED device. That is true. But the other question remains, just like it always does the ends justify the means? Okay? So their grades are up. They're doing better academically. Does that stop the psychological, emotional, and physical damage you are inflicting on that person every single day of their lives for years? No. No, it does not. What is that saying? The bill always comes due, right? There's always a price to pay. And the person who ends up paying is always us. So yes, they're masking you, showing you everything you want to see, giving into every single demand to the point of paying attention almost neurotically to detail. We're giving you what you want. But that does not lead to success down the road. What it leads to down the road is an immense psychological breakdown. Masking while suppressing, and then finally coming out of the sense that you have to. With that damage, you get what I'm saying, right? They're getting what they want. They don't care about the damage that they are causing. They don't care that every single moment that student is constantly, hyper-vigilantly aware that at any second they can be brutally tortured in public, surrounded by a crowd of other people. You're dealing with students that are told from day one that they don't get privacy. Kids who are not even left in the shower alone, but will have direct care staff sitting on the toilet right next to them, and the only form of privacy they actually have is a shower curtain. I get more privacy inside my own goddamn home than those kids get at their little residential houses they put them in. Do you guys have any idea how demeaning that is? Not to mention how unnecessary. There are some people due to disabilities that do need some physical help with bathing, and I'm not shading that. There are also some of us, especially in our teen years, who have trouble with hygiene. I did. But I sure as hell would not have tolerated for a single fucking second to have any direct care staff in the bathroom with me, completely naked and vulnerable, with the only barrier between me and them is a cloth shower curtain. How I got better was my mom take me off to one of the other rooms in the house where no one could hear us, and she would gently, with her voice down, talk to me, and then would ask me questions in regards to how I was washing. Was I using soap? Sensitive areas I'm not going to discuss with you all. I only go so deep into those types of things. And we would go about it that way, so that I wasn't being humiliated. So I wasn't being left vulnerable with somebody sitting on the goddamn toilet while I am naked in the shower. Okay? Yeah. Now, what they were saying here. Let's go back to it, right? We find where we were. Here's the lesson. It's ends and means, isn't it? And it's an ends and means discussion where their JRC never wants to have the conversation in regards to the price that not them, but the student is going to have to pay down the road long after they have left the walls of the JRC. Because trauma follows you all the time. It's been a long damn time since I went through that childhood trauma as a kid. And a good majority of the time, it does not really affect me into my day-to-day life and affairs. But there are moments where that trigger comes out of nowhere. And you want to talk about anxiety, depression, and self-loathing that's so virulent that I become literally unable to do anything other than to hug my legs and stare at the TV while seeing and hearing nothing at all. It doesn't happen that often. Thank God. It used to. You see, the trauma that the JRC is inflicting on SAS, the psychological damage and destruction that they are causing is not something that's going to necessarily always manifest immediately. Those tend to be things that happen down the road, where we either just don't have the emotional fortitude and strength to hold the mask up anymore, or whether there's some other event that may trigger it. Eventually that bill comes due. And if these kids have even half of some of those ugly things within them that I had in me, visceral, like heart-sick, gut-sick loathing of yourself, being bombarded, especially if you're going into autistic burnout and you are losing very, very primary living skills. Yeah, there's a price. There's a price. And that price can and sometimes does utterly and completely cripple your ability to be able to go about your life. We pay that price. Not the ABA people, not people like the JRC. We do. But because they saw what they wanted to see, they got that $265,000 a year out of you because they convinced your parents that the mask they began wearing to protect themselves from any further abuse if humanly possible is the real you that they helped you uncover. But come to find out down the road that that is a lie. And as a matter of fact, they left you in a far worse condition than the one they find you in. JRC never wants to have that conversation. Now, do they? Alright. We're going to go ahead and close out for this one, folks. We don't get very many views on this channel. And the few we do tend to get removed from time to time. So please don't forget to hit the like button, hit subscribe. Please don't forget to hit those comments. I appreciate your time. And as always, folks, we here at Spilling Tea hope you have a good one. I'll see you again here in a few minutes. Bye-bye, everyone.